The wood-paneled courtroom was a pressure chamber. Gregory Vance, silver hair slicked back, sat at the defense table, his gaze drilling into the woman across the room. He leaned forward, his voice a serrated whisper.
"You'll rot in the brig before I do."
Amanda Harlow didn't flinch. Her eyes stayed on the flag behind his shoulder, her dark hair pulled into a disciplined low bun. The crack of the Admiral's gavel silenced the room. "This court-martial is now in session. Madam Advocate, you may proceed." The blood drained from Gregory's face. His knuckles went white against the table's edge.
"Number, this isn't right. She's supposed to be the one in cuffs."
Amanda rose. The gold lieutenant commander stripes on her sleeves caught the light. The jag oak leaf insignia gleamed above her ribbons. She met Gregory's stunned stare with cold precision, then turned to face the judge, ready to begin. 14 months earlier, Amanda Harlow sat alone in her office. A stack of DoD supplier invoices towered beside her. One record caught her eye. An inspection report for brake assemblies, signed off with a familiar scrawl. She cross-referenced the part numbers in the supply warehouse. 3 boxes of cheap knockoffs hidden behind the regulation stock.
These parts never passed testing. Someone swapped them out.
Back at her desk, she mapped the money. Kickbacks flowed from the supplier to a shell company registered under Gregory Vance's name. A week later, she stood in the Marine motor pool, staring at a convoy vehicle that had lost its brakes on a training maneuver.
4 Marines could have died because of a few $1,000s saved.
That night, she opened a formal investigation file, filing it under a sealed docket. Her stepfather was now a suspect.
Mom will never forgive me, but I can't let this go.
For 14 months, she built the case in silence, gathering evidence that would one day bring a retired contractor to his knees. When Amanda submitted her sealed file to NCIS, the arrest warrant came within 48 hours. 2 agents walked up the Vance driveway.
"This is your doing, isn't it? You vindictive little..."
Amanda stood near the curb, her expression carved from stone. Barbara wailed from the porch, clutching the doorframe. 3 days later, Barbara appeared at Amanda's apartment, eyes swollen, voice cracking.
"Drop the case, Amanda. He's your stepfather. He made mistakes, but he's family."
He falsified inspection reports, Mom. Brake assemblies. Marines could have been killed.
You don't understand. He's all I have left. Please, for me.
Barbara left, sobbing. Amanda stood frozen, then crossed to her desk and picked up the old photo, the 3 of them at a barbecue a decade ago.
He taught me to drive stick in that backyard, and now I am the one putting him away.
She set the frame face down. The investigation rolled forward, unflinching. Weeks later, inside the naval brig, Gregory Vance sat on the metal bench, arms crossed, as his defense attorney arrived.
"This case is a joke, Counselor. Amanda can't prove a thing. The board will throw it out before it even starts."
Across town, Amanda's office light burned past midnight for the 3rd time that week.
He thinks I am just his stepdaughter. But I am also the one who froze his accounts and found the Cayman paperwork.
She met with a forensic accountant the next morning, connecting the kickback payments to an offshore shell company. Every transaction circled back to Gregory Vance, timestamps aligned with the falsified inspection dates. The FBI liaison nodded grimly. "We have enough for a jury to see the full picture." Back in the brig, Gregory laughed at the idea of his stepdaughter facing him in court.
"She'll cave. She's always been soft. Her father spoiled her."
He has no idea who's waiting for him in that courtroom.
Amanda walked up the courthouse steps, her navy dress blues crisp under an overcast sky.
In 10 minutes, Gregory will see me. He'll still think I am just a spectator.
Inside, the gallery was filling. Barbara Vance sat in the front row, hands locked together. Gregory was escorted in, civilian clothes, his gaze scanning the room before locking onto Amanda at the far table.
"There she is, the snitch. She has no idea how this ends."
Amanda kept her head down, aligning files. The JAG insignia on her collar stayed out of Gregory's sightline.
She won't last 5 minutes on the stand. The second the defense starts, she'll break.
The bailiff's voice rang out. All rise for the Honorable Admiral Thomas Reed. The room stood. Gregory's smirk remained fixed, certain the case would be dismissed before lunch. The gavel came down. Gregory leaned across the aisle toward Amanda, his voice dropping to a serpent hiss. The hiss died in the silence. Admiral Reed motioned for order, then nodded toward the prosecution.
May it please the court. The prosecution will prove that Gregory Vance knowingly defrauded the Department of Defense through a scheme of falsified inspection reports and kickbacks. Over 14 months, we traced over $800,000 in illicit payments to a shell company under his control, and those falsified parts resulted in brake failures that nearly killed 4 Marines.
Commander Erica Holt then rose, her voice dripping with righteous indignation.
My client is a retired contractor with an unblemished record. The prosecution's case is built on coincidence and family resentment. They have no direct proof Mr. Vance ever touched those parts or authorized those payments. He's being scapegoated.
His signature is on every falsified report. We'll prove it.
The jury listened, faces impassive, as the weight of the opening arguments settled over the room. With the preliminaries over, Amanda called her first witness. The real battle for the truth was about to begin. The forensic accountant, Michael Anders, climbed into the witness box, a brick of financial documents under his arm.
Mr. Anders, please explain to the court how you traced the kickback payments.
Commander Holt shot up. Objection, hearsay. Admiral Reed's voice cut through. Overruled. The witness may answer. Anders began. He described 3 shell companies in the Caymans, each one receiving deposits exactly matching the kickback percentages. Amanda clicked a remote. The courtroom monitor filled with a chart. Money in, money out, dates coinciding with the inspection reports. Gregory's attorney rose again. Objection. These records lack a chain of custody. Overruled. NCIS authenticated the ledgers. The jury will consider the evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Anders. No further questions.
The defense's cross-examination lasted 7 minutes. Holt tried to suggest the accountant had been misled, but the numbers stood. Admiral Reed nodded. Exhibit admitted. The financial foundation of the prosecution's case was now public and irrefutable. Amanda called Staff Sergeant David Park. The young Marine walked stiffly to the stand. Jaw tight, Sergeant Park described the convoy training outside 29 Palms, brakes locking, the Humvee rolling, his gunner pinned. He fought to keep his voice steady. The master cylinder had cracked. Replacement was substandard, cheap alloy. We found the inspection stamp later. Amanda stepped to the evidence table and lifted the cracked brake cylinder inside a clear evidence bag.
Is this the part you removed from the vehicle after the accident?
Park nodded, his knuckles white. Yes, ma'am. It had the Vance Industries stamp. The defense rose. Sergeant Park, you aren't a trained engineer. Couldn't it have been driver error? Park's eyes didn't waver. I've been a mechanic for 12 years, ma'am. That part failed metallurgy tests. I saw the lab report. The jury scribbled notes. Across the room, Gregory's smirk had vanished, replaced by a tight, calculating frown. Amanda let the part back onto the table with a deliberate clunk. The physical evidence had spoken. The prosecution rested. Commander Holt rose, her tone shifting from legal to personal.
This case isn't about fraud. It's about a stepdaughter's lifelong grudge. Amanda Harlow has resented Mr. Vance for decades.
Admiral Reed's gavel cracked like a gunshot. Counselor, strike that remark and stick to evidence or face sanctions. During recess, Holt cornered Amanda in the marble corridor, her voice low and venomous.
You are destroying your own mother, Lieutenant Commander. Every night she cries because of you. Is that justice?
He endangered 4 Marines. He broke this family, not me. Now step aside, Counselor.
From the gallery doors, Barbara Vance watched the exchange, her hand pressed against the cold glass.
I begged her to stop. She won't even look at me anymore. What have we become?
When court resumed, the jury's eyes were on the evidence ledgers, not the family drama. The defense's smear had fizzled. Gregory's smirk had vanished. Jaw tight, he realized he would have to testify next. Gregory strode to the witness stand like a man still certain of his escape. Amanda opened the case file. Her eyes locked on him as she rose.
Mr. Vance, on June 12th, you signed an inspection report for brake assembly 704. Do you recognize this document?
He flicked the paper with his thumb, forced a casual shrug.
It's a stamp. Someone else must have used it.
Without a word, Amanda lifted a bank statement, turning it toward the jury.
This wire transfer matches the kickback amount. You personally authorized it.
His hand flew to his collar. Sweat beaded his forehead. The swagger was gone. The jury saw the fabrication crumble. His eyes darted, searching for an exit that wasn't there. Amanda let the silence crush him. The defendant had no glib answer, only the sound of his own undoing. Gregory was led back to his seat, face gray. The courtroom felt hollow now, except for Amanda's voice.
The prosecution calls Barbara Vance to the stand.
A murmur rippled through the gallery. Barbara clutched her purse, rising on trembling legs. She walked past Gregory without looking at him, her heels echoing on the wooden floor.
Mrs. Vance, did you sign documents for a company called Harbor Strategic Holdings?
Yes. Gregory told me it was just for tax purposes. I never looked at the accounts. I am sorry, Amanda. I am so sorry.
Gregory's head snapped toward her, a flash of raw betrayal breaking his composure.
She told the truth. For the first time, she chose me, but it cost her everything.
The courtroom fell silent. Every juror now understood. The shell company had been a family secret, and Amanda had just forced open its lock. The defense scraped together two character witnesses, former colleagues who offered little more than hollow goodwill. They rested within minutes. Amanda stood. The courtroom inhaled as one.
You've seen the bank statements. You've seen the cracked brake cylinder. 4 Marines nearly died because of a man who chose profit over safety. That man is Gregory Vance. And the evidence has stripped him of every defense except the one he never had: innocence.
She paused, letting the weight of every exhibit settle into the jurors' minds.
Find Gregory Vance guilty on all 6 counts. Not for me, for every Marine who trusted a part that failed them.
Holt's closing was a murmur of desperation. She could only plead for mercy, citing his years of service. Gregory Vance stared at the table. His empire of lies had collapsed into a few hours of testimony. The jury filed out. Amanda watched, her hands folded on the table. The doors sealed with a final thud. The waiting began. The wait stretched only 37 minutes. Then the jury buzzed. They filed back in, faces set, avoiding the defendant's corner. Admiral Reed read the verdict slip without pause, his voice steady. Guilty on all 6 counts. Gregory's legs gave way. He clutched the table edge, knuckles white, breath a series of shallow gasps. Behind him, Barbara's sobs cut through the heavy air like a blade. Amanda exhaled slowly through her nose, her shoulders dropping an inch. 14 months of silence finally released. The Admiral's gavel came down with a thunderous finality, sealing the conviction. 2 MPs stepped forward, their movements practiced and detached, and snapped cuffs onto Gregory's wrists. They turned him around. Gregory Vance, retired contractor, now convict, shuffled through the side door. As the door closed, the gallery erupted in a swarm of whispers. Barbara slumped forward, her grief a raw public spectacle. Barely 10 minutes passed before the bailiff ordered all to rise again. Gregory was marched back in, his face a hollowed mask. Admiral Reed loomed over the bench, his gaze pinning Gregory like a moth.
Gregory Vance, you traded the lives of United States Marines for a few $100,000. Such corruption is a cancer on our armed forces. You betrayed your country, your family, and the uniform you once claimed to serve. This court will not show you the mercy you withheld from others.
Gregory swayed slightly, his attorney gripping his elbow. No defiance remained.
It is the judgment of this tribunal that you serve a term of 12 years in the United States Disciplinary Barracks at Leavenworth.
A choked sound left Gregory's throat. 12 years. His mouth opened, but no words came. Amanda watched him go, her expression unreadable. She had not rested yet. Her mother's devastated eyes were still waiting outside. The Admiral struck the gavel one final time. Justice had been dispensed, but the cost to the family still hung in the air. The courtroom emptied slowly. Amanda remained seated a long moment, then gathered her case files. Outside, Barbara was waiting. Amanda stepped through the brass doors, and before the reporters could surge, Barbara rushed forward, eyes swollen, mascara streaked.
Amanda, please. We can appeal. You can show mercy. He's still family.
Amanda stopped, her case files pressed to her chest. The word hung in the air.
Family? He nearly killed 4 Marines, Mom. You chose him over me.
That's not fair. I was trapped. I didn't know what he was doing.
Amanda's voice went flat, final.
You had a chance to pick me. You picked a con man. That's not on me.
Barbara's knees buckled, but Amanda did not reach for her. She turned away. Amanda walked to her car alone, her reflection sharp in the window. The engine turned over. In the rearview mirror, Barbara remained on the courthouse steps, a diminishing figure. 2 days after the sentencing, Amanda drove to Arlington. The rows of white stones stretched in silence. She knelt at her father's grave, tracing the engraved name, Lieutenant Commander Michael Harlow.
You taught me to serve, Dad. I hope I did right by you.
Back in her office, she placed a new photograph on her desk, her father in uniform, next to a shot of her JAG graduating class.
No more dusty barbecue photos. Just the men who earned a place here.
Weeks later, the case appeared on the JAG Corps internal network, a training module titled Prosecuting Fraud, the Vance Case. Amanda's face stared back from the screen, her name synonymous with unwavering duty. The Navy JAG Corps building stood under a clear sky. Amanda walked inside, briefcase in hand, another case waiting. The stepfather, who swore she'd rot in the brig, was now rotting himself. She was exactly where she belonged, and the JAG Corps had a new lesson for its prosecutors, one that began with the hiss of a snake and ended with the swing of a gavel. The story of Amanda Harlow and Gregory Vance did not end with a gavel. It echoed through the halls of justice. In her office, Amanda placed the cracked brake cylinder on a shelf, a reminder of why she wore the uniform. The JAG training module went live. New prosecutors studied the financial forensics, the witness preparation, the cross-examination that broke a con man. At Leavenworth, Gregory Vance learned the true cost of a hiss, 12 years to replay every lie, every betrayal, in a 6x8 cell. Barbara Vance sat alone in her living room, a photo album open to a page from a decade ago. The barbecue, the smiles, the lies. Amanda walked the pier again, wind whipping her coat, the sea stretching endless. She did not look back. At Arlington, fresh white flowers rested against her father's stone. The inscription read, "Duty, honor, country." She finally understood. She returned to the JAG Corps headquarters every morning, briefcase in hand, another case waiting. The work never ended, and neither did her resolve. The courtroom emptied, the gavel silent, but the echo remained, "Madam Advocate, you may proceed." A stepdaughter had become the law. Justice does not come from blood. It comes from the courage to stand, to speak, to act. And Amanda Harlow stood. Amanda looked at the framed photo on her desk. Her JAG team grinning after the verdict. Beside it, her father in his dress blues reminded her that justice wasn't vengeance. It was a promise kept. At the formal ceremony, Admiral Reed pinned the Navy Commendation Medal above her ribbons. No family clapped in the front row. Only her fellow JAG officers, her true family, filled the seats. A newspaper headline on her wall read, "Navy JAG takes down major defense fraud." The date stamp in the corner marked the end of an era. At the JAG school, She stood before a class of young officers, the Vance case study glowing on the screen. She didn't mention the personal cost. She spoke only of the law, the evidence, and the duty that had no room for sentimentality. After class, she walked the corridors of the JAG Corps headquarters, the flag patch on her shoulder, a symbol of her chosen path. The pier was empty at dusk, the waves a steady rhythm. She stood at the edge, the wind cool, and for the first time, she felt weightless. The hiss of a snake had been silenced by the swing of a gavel and the quiet, unbreakable power of a daughter who chose justice over blood. Months after the trial, Amanda found herself on the same pier, the sunset bleeding orange and purple across the water. This time she didn't come to escape. She came to remember why she started. The supply warehouse had been repurposed. Rows of properly inspected parts now lined the shelves, a testament to reform. In the motor pool, the same marine mechanic who testified now trained recruits on spotting counterfeit equipment. Amanda stepped into the lecture hall, unannounced, as a young JAG officer presented the Vance case. On the screen, the module concluded with a quote from Admiral Reed, "The law is only as strong as those who enforce it." That evening, Amanda sat at her desk, the old photo of her father now joined by a new one, Staff Sergeant Park, smiling beside a repaired Humvee. The Navy Commendation Medal caught the lamplight, but her eyes lingered on the photos. That was the real reward. She closed the file on the Vance case for the last time and placed it in the drawer marked closed. The gavel had fallen, the hiss had ended, and the advocate remained, ready for whatever case came next. Amanda stared at the closed file drawer, then glanced at her watch. It was late, but she had no desire to leave. Her phone buzzed, a text from Admiral Reed. "Your father would be proud." "Well done, Commander." She allowed a small smile, then set the phone down. No reply was necessary. The work itself was the answer. The next morning, she walked through the glass doors of the JAG Corps building, briefcase in hand. A new case file waited on her desk, thick and urgent. But for a moment, she allowed herself to remember the one before, not the verdict or the sentencing, but the moment the hiss died and the gavel rose. The instant the law became a shield, she opened the new file. Another fraud, another betrayal, but this time the weight felt lighter. Outside, the flag snapped in the wind, and the corridors hummed with the quiet machinery of justice. Amanda Harlow was not a spectator in her own life anymore. She was the advocate, the avenger, the one who stood, and the brig. It would never hold the one who wore the oak leaf and spoke for the dead. The afternoon sun dipped low over the Navy JAG Corps headquarters, casting long shadows across the front steps. Amanda walked out alone, her briefcase lighter than it had been in months. The air smelled of rain and salt. She paused at the driver's door, looking back at the courthouse. No reporters, no family, just the quiet weight of justice. She didn't drive home. Instead, she followed the road to the pier, the one where her father had taught her to fish. The wooden planks creaked under her feet. The sky was a deep violet now, the first stars appearing.
You chose the Navy over everything, Dad. I finally understand why. It wasn't a sacrifice. It was a calling.
She stayed until the stars fully emerged, then drove home. Her apartment was quiet, but no longer empty. On her nightstand, the photo of her father now sat beside her JAG insignia pin. Two symbols of the same promise. The brig held a snake. In the morning, the advocate would rise again, ready to speak for those who couldn't. And somewhere, in the quiet hush of a hall of justice, a gavel waited for the next case, the next liar, the next test of a daughter's resolve. Amanda Harlow straightened the oak leaf on her collar, her reflection a portrait of calm. On her desk lay a new case file, thick with fraud and lies. But she didn't dread it. She stepped out into a crisp morning, the flag above the JAG headquarters, snapping in the breeze. The courtroom was still empty, the benches polished, waiting for the day's first argument. She walked to the prosecution table, muscle memory guiding her, and set down her briefcase. On the monitor, the Vance case study had been updated with a postscript. Prosecutor Harlow promoted.
The hiss is gone. Only the gavel remains.
Through the tall windows, dawn light sliced into the empty room, illuminating the judge's bench. The gavel rested in its cradle, but it would not stay silent long. A daughter who once heard a serpent's hiss now walked into the light, her advocate's voice ready to speak for those who could not.